Do you remember when you first found out that you were going to have your first child? Do you remember the anticipation and the joy and excitement and everything that went along with that? I remember when we first found out about Jaden. We didn't know if it was going to be a boy or girl, but we were excited. I know when I found out that it was going to be a little boy, I was really excited. I can still remember the doctor's visit that day and the doctor revealing the news to us. It was an exciting time. You know, as we're talking about the life of Jesus, today we're going to be in Matthew chapter 1, 18 through 25. And I don't really imagine that Joseph finding out that Mary is going to be having a child is quite as exciting as it was when we found out we were going to have a child. We wanted a child. We were hoping to have a child. We were excited about it. And Joseph is going to be very perplexed and caught off guard. And this wasn't the plan at all. You know, the book of Matthew focuses on the account of Jesus' life from a standpoint of Joseph and tells the story through the focus of Joseph. Whereas a couple of weeks ago, we looked at the book of Luke and it focuses its story on the birth of Christ around Mary. But I think it's neat how much, like today, the woman finds out that she's pregnant before the man does. And that's kind of what we see here. Mary had been made aware of what was taking place, and then Joseph is made aware of what's taking place. Now let's look here in Matthew chapter 1 at a few verses as we're looking at 18 through 25. It says in 18, "Now the birth of Jesus Christ was as follows. When his mother Mary had been betrothed to Joseph, before they came together, she was found to be with child by the Holy Spirit." She was with child. They'd been betrothed. They wasn't married yet. It said before they came together. And Joseph, her husband, being a righteous man and not wanting to disgrace her, planned to send her away secretly. You know, he had concern and care for Mary. But when he had considered this, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, "Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child who has been conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit. She will bear a son. You shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins." Now all this took place to fulfill what was spoken by the Lord through the prophet. "Behold, the virgin shall be with child, shall bear a son, shall call his name Emmanuel," which translated means God with us. And Joseph awoke from his sleep and did as the angel of the Lord commanded him, and took Mary as his wife, but kept her a virgin until she gave birth to a son, and called his name Jesus. You know, as with Mary, we see some wonderful qualities of Joseph in this particular text. I want to point out two of those things today. The first one I've kind of already alluded to in verse 19. We see that his tender consideration for Mary. And Joseph, it said there in that text, her husband, being a righteous man and not wanting to disgrace her, planned to send her away secretly. He had great thought and care and concern for Mary. What he was going to do, what he thought he needed to do, was based on his care and concern for Mary. But the angel interceded and brought Joseph into what was going on, what was taking place, and why that was taking place. And then as we get down to verse 24, we see the second great attribute that I want us to look at in regards to Joseph. As it says, "And Joseph awoke from his sleep, and did as the angel of the Lord commanded him, took Mary as his wife." He had a willingness to bear ridicule. You know, once he awoke from his sleep, once he had understood and heard everything that the angel had said, it says there that he did all that the angel commanded him, took Mary as his wife. We see an act of obedience. You know, this account is very similar to Mary's in the fact that the information was given and the information was received. And we also see, just like we did with Mary, that there was an obedience and an acceptance to the word that was spoken. You know, what a message for us today. Obedience and acceptance to the word that was spoken. Think about what our lives would be like if we had obedience and acceptance to the word that was spoken. Think about what our world would be like if we had obedience and acceptance to the word that was spoken. You know, what an example we see out of Joseph. What an example we see out of Mary in their willingness to accept the word and to obey the word. Now, what would our lives be like if we would accept the word and obey the word? I want to thank you for taking the time to join me this morning. I pray that you have a good Wednesday, and I pray that God will be glorified in all that you do today.